Welcome to the Green Nurse Podcast, where we bring hope and inspiration for growth and healing. We are here to change the dialogue and stigma around what it means to feel good and be high. Hence the H for hope, I for inspiration, G for growth, and H for healing. I love to start the show off with one of my favorite handy dandy videos because it truly does bring me inspiration. Here we go.
The paradigm of healthcare.
The Green Nurse is a holistic cannabis nurse that teaches on the endocannabinoid system and the safe utilization of cannabis and other progressive tools to help people reach a better quality of life.
I'm the founder of Holistic Caring. We're based here in California, and we do educational programs and case management for patients on how to use cannabis therapeutically as a medicine.
We're also here to decrease stigma around what it means to feel good and be high, hence the H for hope, I for inspiration, G for growth, and H for healing.
As the founder of Holistic Caring, I basically oversee the whole ship, and what we're doing is progressive education.
Cannabis actually supports all 11 organ systems, our immune system, and all the neurotransmitter signaling systems that give messages to tell our body to either do something or not do something. Because the plant was prohibited, it prevented health professionals, doctors and nurses from learning about cannabis as medicine.
I want to change the paradigm of healthcare and us paving the way into a new vanguard of medicine. And I'm excited to really bring this into light. There's a company called Canum that we're merging with, and we will now be doing global education.
It's about education, it's about empowerment, it's about teaching people how to feel good, bridging the gap from what they're not getting from traditional medicine, utilizing different plant medicines, adaptogens, tips, tricks, hugs, and nugs of information to support and nourish the most important system in our body.
And it's a lot of soul work, a lot of love, a lot of discipline, and meditation. I'm using my life work as a testimony to others to learn how they can be their own hero and then go help heal the world.
And we are, as nurses, the game changers.
Well, there we go. Growing in health, growing in cannabis. And not only are nurses the game changers in this space, but I think respiratory therapists are also going to be the game changers in this space because we also have a lot to learn about cannabinoids and how it can work in our body multiple different ways. We often talk about things that people don't want to talk about. However, they're very, very important subjects that need to be discussed to decrease stigma for healing. This year and last year, we've been highlighting cannabis nurses and cannabis health professionals as we are truly in revolutionary times where we're changing how we approach and take care of patients. Tonight, I'm really excited to illuminate a nationally accredited respiratory care practitioner, Christi Chapman, and her compelling story of healing and what led her to start Chapman Health and Wellness and the Balmb Body Care LLC with her award-winning topical line. Christine Chapman is the CEO of Chapman Health and Wellness and is the Balmb Body Care and Oregon award-winning topical line. She resides in Spanaway Lake, Washington. Christi has been nationally accredited respiratory practitioner who worked in Portland and Vancouver critical care units, including the open heart team and pediatrics ICU. Christi has provided care since 1991 to respiratory distress patients, both acute and chronic. Her experience and compassion for people has brought her to a place of desiring to find the solutions so many of us face with our health today. Chapman is interested in serving others and finding solutions, which is what brought her to working with cannabis. Natural healing for her and her family has proven to work out well. Christi has a deep passion for serving the community, and we're excited to have her share her views on cannabis from a respiratory perspective. And the other thing I'm really, really excited to announce is that she is going to be one of our new Green Nurse approved CBD companies in our marketplace. Welcome, Christi.
Thank you, Sherry. Thank you so much for inviting me. Glad to be here.
Oh God, Christi, it's just so glad to have you here. Knowing that you are an intensive care unit respiratory practitioner really just struck me, struck my heart, because I used to work in the intensive care unit years ago
I know.
before I got into the cannabis space. So
Mhm.
literally, we don't all wake up one day and say, hey, I'm going to, come into the cannabis space, especially a respiratory therapist. And you've created a line of products for patients. So let's get into talking about your original profession first and what led you to become a respiratory therapist.
Thank you for that introduction, Sherry. That was so sweet. And I'm just so happy to be here. So much to talk about. Why did I want to be a respiratory therapist? I grew up with oxygen being delivered to my house. My father had COPD, and I saw a lot of suffering very early. He passed away when I was 16, and I just knew that if I could help people not to have to suffer like he did, that I would have purpose. And so respiratory therapy was what I chose. I would like to say my mom's a nurse, and although she did not encourage education for religious reasons, she said, if you do, be a nurse. And I said, no, I think I'll be a respiratory therapist. So here I am.
Here you are. And that's just so interesting. Respiratory therapist, cannabis, I'm just, it's just very interesting. And I can't wait to dive into that more. So when you're a respiratory therapist, you worked in a lot of the intensive care units. And one of your questions was, what was your favorite unit when working in the hospital?
My favorite unit was actually the burn unit at Emmanuel in Portland.
Oh, wow.
And this is such a good reason for caring about people. I had a patient who had the most impact on me in my entire career. And it was a patient who came in, was a severe burn patient. We were getting ready to intubate him, doctors all around, and they assumed that because he was from another country here on business that he didn't speak English and he was caught in a fire. Well, being at the head of the bed and near his airway, where a respiratory therapist is always, I was whispering in his ear, and I grabbed his hand and I said, if you understand what I'm saying, please squeeze my hand. And he squeezed my hand. And I had to look up at everybody and say, this person is aware of every word you're saying. So it not only was a great lesson to me in life, it was the most touching moment of my career. So what you say, you think people don't hear, they do. So people need to be treated with kindness and respect, no matter what situation they're in or who they are.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Well, which is so great is the essence of nursing is human caring, right? Yes. And so I think that's, I'm going to just say that about respiratory, the respiratory practitioners that are caring for patients at the bedside. Wow, what an important job to be responsible for one of the most important things that's keeping us alive, oxygen. So just for the new people that are out there that are tuning in, can you just describe a little bit what a respiratory care practitioner does and how they're involved in patient care?
As a respiratory therapist, my duties, I'll tell a fun story. So right. Working in the emergency room, because that's always a good story, we would wait for codes to come in. So we could be anywhere in the hospital, and if you were assigned to the emergency room, you might go help out another floor if they're busy. And then when a code comes in, you start running. You head for the ER. And it is a lot of CPR.
That's what the next thing I was going to ask you, for the new people may not know what a code is.
Oh, I'm sorry. So if somebody comes in the hospital and they're not breathing, they're going to beep a respiratory therapist. So we are the ones who would assist the doctor in placing the tube down into the lungs, and then we would place them on life support. And then it would be the respiratory therapist's job or the RN working with them to make adjustments to the ventilator so that the patient could be comfortable. And then, of course, weaning them off or taking them off for them to go someplace else.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. So yeah. And so the other thing too, we had talked about was intubate. A lot of people don't know what that is either, which is
I'm
good.
sorry. This is why I stay, just with my nose to the grindstone.
No. It's all good.
Intubation is that tube that goes in your throat so that we can control your airway. So if you are not breathing, or if your lungs have an insult, injury, pneumonia, they're not working properly, we will take over your breathing for you.
There we go. Very good. So speaking of breathing, cannabis, what do respiratory therapists think about cannabis?
I'm going to take a sip on that one.
Yeah, like what, so here you are, a respiratory therapist. We're going to talk about when did cannabis become a part of your life? And generally out there, you think about, we're still dealing with stigma in the nursing organization, even though the National Council State Boards of Nursing put out a call to action that all nurses, nurse practitioners, and nursing students must have 6 essential areas of clinical knowledge when it comes to cannabis as medicine. The Nursing Regulatory Board the boards of nursing that are in each state still hasn't completely recognized that, even though the National Count State Boards of Nursing. So we have to think about that.
There's a lot of stigma.
Yes, I was just going to ask you, what's going on with the respiratory therapists? What do they think about cannabis?
Well, as a respiratory therapist, this is a great topic, actually. And I might shock a few people.
It's okay. It's all good.
So I roll like that. So as a respiratory therapist, I would not encourage anyone to smoke. I would not encourage anyone to put fire up towards their mouth unless it was a certain distance away, which is why there are so many fabulous devices that we can use healthy medicating. My concern was as a respiratory therapist, I spent 25 years helping people stop smoking and be healthier. And so how does a respiratory therapist start smoking cannabis? That, it doesn't sound like me. I actually, small tidbit, I actually quit smoking cigarettes while I was in college because I thought, if you can't have control to not partake in cigarettes, how can you have control to help other people? Right. So here's where it changed for me. I got sick. And when I went to the doctors and asked them to help me, I felt harmed more than I felt helped. And so at one point I had to take 2 of my doctors and tell them that I would not be back, and gave them good reasons. So
it's interesting because Christi, it's just interesting because you're not the only one. That's the part that there's so many health professionals, nurses that come into this space as cannabis nurses because the conventional system has failed them. A lot of people have felt more harm than helped. And as a matter of fact, I just did a show on that this morning on medical and pharmaceutical trauma. And what we do
did
to
see
patients,
it was fabulous, by the way.
No, thanks. Anyway, so I just wanted to bring that up in case you missed it. We have a show from earlier this morning, and here we are. We've got Christi Chapman, who is a respiratory care practitioner who worked in the system as an intensive care unit respiratory care practitioner. She got sick, and even she, as a clinician who knows how to use the system, experienced medical and pharmaceutical trauma where she felt the system had caused her more harm than helped. There are so many of us, and I'm so glad that you're sharing your story. It's really, really important. So I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, thank you. my story was I was on a lot of pain medication. I had fibromyalgia. Notice I said had.
Right.
And trying to deal with that, I was on a lot of medication. And when it got to the point that I could not any longer work in the ICU, and I knew I had to take myself off of work, I knew there had to be a different way. So I searched out cannabis. When I ended up getting sick enough, and it's sad that we have to get sick enough to look at cannabis. I wished it would have been one of the first things my doctor offered me. But
well, here's the other thing too. This is something to think about. So I completely 100% agree with you. We now know that fibromyalgia, migraines, and irritable bowel are all an endocannabinoid deficiency. Statement of fact with a capital F. So if my doctor and your doctor had any inclination of what that was, we probably wouldn't have suffered as much as we did. That is a really, really important thing. So if you're out there and you have fibromyalgia, you have migraines, you have irritable bowel, and nothing is working for you, I want you to continue watching these shows, join our community, learn about the endocannabinoid system. It is the most important system in your body. So I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's just, I just feel so passionate about that, because just like you, they weren't able to help you and you were getting worse.
Right. Well, I got worse and worse and worse until I couldn't make it to the mailbox. And my neighbor was coming over and taking my dog out to go take care of things. And my neighbor, bless his heart, a young man in his 20s, looked at me and said, "You're sick, like me." And I said, "What do you mean? How do you know?" And long story short, he had a vape pen, and I got immediate relief from my gray slate face to cherry cheeks. And
wow.
I could not believe it. And I was at the point where I was unable to walk straight. I couldn't stand up straight. I do have IBS. I lost 100 pounds in 8 months during that time. And when he brought that vape pen to me and I did use it, I started getting better. And it wasn't something that I had to take for 2 weeks. Cannabis worked for me
immediately.
You see an epileptic shaking, my stomach was doing that and trying to rid itself of water even, and cannabis stopped that. So I was all in.
You were all in. When you have that, well, here's the thing, Christi, I just want to mention. So you inhaled a vape pen, okay, which I find is very interesting. Same with me, is that I inhaled a big fat joint. Was my first experience using cannabis as medicine. And after 2 puffs, the exact same thing, the pain was gone. Okay, so the sick and suffering, I actually, the chronic myofascial pain created mental health challenges so dramatic that I had suicidal ideation. Seriously.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to laugh. That's very serious.
It is. And but I look back and laugh and I'm like, holy schmoly. Wow, 2 puffs. And it was inhalation that was able to decrease that in such a way that it gave me that aha moment of, wow.
It is an aha moment. And if you are afraid of using cannabis and are filling up on pain medicine or Effexor, there is such a better way to live. And I say Effexor because my girlfriend just got off of it, and she's just so happy. After a bout with cancer, it was necessary for her.
Wow. So cannabis came into your life. It helped you.
Cannabis came into my life and helped me.
And how has it changed your life?
Well, it changed my life in that instead of going to the doctor and picking up his prescription and being able to live a little bit of life, I have been able to implement cannabis and live a full life. So cannabis is one of those things that when you get relief, how dare you not shout it from the rooftop?
I agree.
If your life got better because hemp came into your endocannabinoid system and changed things, how can you not share that with somebody who's suffering? And that's where I think it's so wonderful what you're doing and educating people. You know, there's just a lot of good things happening in cannabis.
It is. And here we go too. You think about it as health professionals. Why do we go into the profession to begin with? We go into care for humans. We go into essentially care. And as a health professional, if I know of anything that could potentially, excuse me, decrease suffering and improve quality of life, I have an obligation to share
Absolutely. And, you know, sometimes I'll be very honest, that obligation is, can be heavy.
Yeah.
And to know that you have a purpose and that you need to cross the finish line so that other people don't have the story of pain and suffering, you just keep pushing.
Yeah. You just keep pushing. And it's, and I, you know, the thing is too, is I had to deal with stigma with my mother. You know, my mother was completely anti-cannabis. And the bottom line is she just couldn't understand why I needed to inhale. And so, you know, and I agree with you that, you know, smoking isn't for everyone, but for some people, the inhalation method is absolutely necessary. It was necessary for me to inhale to be able to ingest the other cannabinoids. I couldn't get anything else in. So that was the interesting piece of it.
If your quality of life is improved, then I say do it.
Yeah.
That's why I say as a respiratory therapist, people are shocked to see that I will smoke. But the consequences of not smoking are greater. The pain is worse. So you really have to weigh out your options. And for me, it was a fantastic option.
Risk benefit ratio, improving quality of life, how, you know, looking at all those different things, biopsychosocial, spiritual, how is your body feeling? How is your mental, emotional status feeling? Are you connected or are you withdrawn? So really, really important. So what compelled you? So this is all good news. What compelled you to start your business and how did you get your idea for it?
Well, I have 2 LLCs and I know it gets a little confusing at times, but when I started,
this one.
Well, it's been a journey and it's been an interesting journey. So as a fibromyalgia patient, I started out with topicals. And when I had gone back to college to take some courses to improve my chances of getting a job and not having to work, you know, critical care and taking medicines, I just lost my train of thought, Sherry.
Oh, that's okay, love. That's okay. So basically stepping into the space with your Balmb, with your
yes, I'm sorry.
topical.
I'm sorry. Yeah, the two kind of, I'm trying to put them both together. Okay, so when I ended up with the diagnosis of fibromyalgia and ended up on opiates, topicals were what got me off of opiates. And
that's good news.
I had quite severe pain. Of course, being on opiates would indicate that. And it's been 10 years since I've had to use opiates for pain. And it's because of topicals. I even went to the doctor one day, Sherry, and said, hey, you know that diagnosis that you gave me on fibromyalgia? Like, what happened? Like, I'm not having any pain like I did. And interestingly enough, and this is a point that I would like to share with everybody listening, is I used my topicals daily. But when I stopped using them and stopped filling my endocannabinoid system, the pain would come back. And so by trial and error, I learned that it is something that you want to do on a routine base. It is self-care daily. And filling your endocannabinoid system is a daily chore that we have, a responsibility to our body.
Yes, we do, because it is the most important system in our body, and everything that we do or don't do in our lives affects that most important system. So it does make sense, right? We got one meat suit. We have to take care of it.
So to finish my story, the Balmb Body Care was born, and I was very blessed. In 2016, I won an award in Oregon, runner-up. And right about that time is when I started having other health issues. And I knew after doing my research that inhalers would be something that I would do because I believed in them. And I believed that there was a better way to treat patients coming into the ER other than a bunch of albuterol causing their heart rate to go skyrocket. And there are other options. So I was messing around with the inhalers, and being a respiratory therapist, I knew some people that were working in that industry and had crossed over. So when I got a hold of them, it actually helped my IBS. So I was not able to keep any tinctures down. So getting my endocannabinoid system full was very hard. And the inhaler is not a body care product. So I had to create another LLC so that I could bring the inhalers forward.
So are you
that
telling
is
me we
why.
have an inhaler?
Yes. So that is why two companies, it is double the work. And CBD inhalers changed my life. And when I did reading about how we could measure volumes, this is something that you can give a patient who is having an asthma attack, and you can do peak flow meters before and after. You can do a pulse oximeter to see what the level of oxygen saturation is doing. So I love this product because it's measurable. The dose is measurable. The effect is measurable. So
this is great.
That is why I had to create another one. And this is my passion. I mean, this is who I am. This is what I do. 25 years, and I just want people to be healthy and to breathe well, take good care of themselves.
Yeah. So I'm going to read what's written here. I love this. It says, metered dose inhalers are a perfect way to medicate discreetly without heat or smoke, protecting the lungs from damage. The micron size of each droplet allows for optimal deposition. The droplets are so small, they're able to reach the lower part of the lungs, the alveoli, opening the small air sacs and allowing the CBD to cross the blood-brain barrier immediately. This also allows for bronchodilation and improved oxygenation. Patients report a difficult time with tinctures and edibles. However, after using inhaled CBD products, patients reported feeling relief of nausea and subsequently decreased vomiting. Another patient reported relief from migraines after utilizing CBD via inhalation. So this is really interesting. So this is it's just like an inhaler. Very correct?
It is an inhaler. It is just like the inhalers. One of the reasons why I really enjoy using the inhaler, I call it a modality, different way of delivering medicine, is stigma was a big thing for me. I grew up in a home that was a little judgmental on cannabis. And, you know, we were just taught as children, you just don't do that. So to be able to not have the stigma when somebody's trying to medicate, when they're just trying to be healthy. So when I would be out and about and I was still having a lot of difficulty with my health, I could be at a meeting and have difficulty and pull my inhaler right out when I'm having a little anxiety, or maybe my stomach is starting to turn, and I can just take a puff, and I know that I got 10 milligrams, and I know I got it all because the particle size, as you mentioned, drops down to the alveoli. So you don't want to waste CBD.
No.
So
it's expensive. It's expensive.
Yeah, I call it also lowering the eyebrows. in that CBD just relaxes you and takes the edge off for me.
Oh,
and so it's a good product.
That's amazing.
I created something that worked for me. And when it worked and when it changed my life as much as it did, I just knew that I had to push that rock uphill.
And I'm very grateful that you did.
Well, when you have a passion and you have a purpose and you know that it's a measurable result, it's just a matter of talking to people and educating people.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I'd like to slip in here right now, if I may, is
absolutely
a super interesting fact about CBD in the lungs. And this is my one favorite fact.
All right, love it.
Apelin is a protein in the lungs, and apelin helps lung tissue to repair. And when a patient has, let's say, ARDS, since we seem to hear a lot of lung issues in the news lately, when you have insult to the lungs, such as ARDS, and that apelin does not kick in to help the lung heal, it actually goes down. And guess what? CBD makes apelin go up 20 times more than anything they've found so far.
Oh, wow.
So when you insert CBD into the lungs, in fact, it goes to work not only doing the anti-inflammatory process, but it also is activating a protein in the lungs, apelin, which is the protein that restores the lung health.
Wow.
So
and you said by what? 20%?
20% or 20 times more. 20 times more.
Okay. All right. That's pretty.
And I have a great article I'd love to send you.
Oh my God, I'd love it. I'm going to,
It's very good. Yeah.
I'll stick it right up in the chat box.
And another thing that CBD going directly into the lungs does as far as medicating is apelin is also responsible for increasing or decreasing your blood pressure. And so when you stimulate that protein, it's helping your lungs pump better. It helps the heart. When the heart has heart failure, it needs apelin. Guess what? CBD will provide that. So, fun fact.
That's a really, really good fact, and I definitely want that article. That's going to go right up in the community and right along with this podcast. Amazing, amazing. So, where do you see this plant taking the healthcare system right now, and how do you?
I see this plant being our healthcare system.
There you go.
That's what I see. I wait for things like Medicare to approve cannabis. I know that Israel and Canada currently the physicians there are able to prescribe meter dose inhalers because they can control it and they know the patient is getting a certain dose. But physicians are able to actually prescribe that in Canada and Israel. So it's just a matter of changing our healthcare system, changing how we heal, because there's a lot of power in healing.
There is patient empowerment. The future of healthcare is patient empowerment through education. You know, just how amazing is it to become your own health coach, right? Really, seriously.
Absolutely. You know? Well, they always say heal yourself before you try to help anybody else. And anybody who has known me over the past 10 years has known that I've struggled with my health quite a bit, and I haven't been this healthy. I have a birthday coming up, and I haven't been this healthy in a decade.
That's amazing. How old are you going to be there, Christi?
This is my last year in my 50s. So next year I'll be sporting the big 60. And
Wow.
I'm really excited about it. I have more energy, better health than I've had in a long time. So, yeah,
So great.
it's a good year.
Wow. So let's talk a little bit more about your company a little bit. So what is your mission and vision for the future of Chapman Health and Wellness?
Our vision at Chapman Health and
Balmb.
Wellness is that more people will utilize cannabis since it is in a form that is non-threatening. There are a lot of people that also need to have products that are THC free for their jobs, drug testing. We want to be that company that people come to and say, you know what? I know she cares enough that this will be a product that will help me and that it will be the very best product that can be put out. So what we would like to see with Chapman Health and Wellness is people looking to cannabis before they look towards Western medicine. And I'm not saying that there isn't a place for Western medicine, but if we are finding so many people that are healing with cannabis and in better ways and living better lives, then that's what it's all about. And that's what we want to help with.
Love that.
Quality of life.
That's it. Quality of life.
When you are about to lose your quality of life and you get it back,
you don't take it for granted anymore. I tell you
do
what.
not take it for granted, and you make sure that you reach out to people who have any kind of part of your story so that you can share it and say, well, this is what worked for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is the hardest part about owning two cannabis companies?
Well, I don't know, because I don't know any different.
Right. Well, I think too, being in the cannabis space, you need to be really flexible and be able to adapt, shift, and pivot. As
pivot, and then pivot again.
And then pivot. You're doing a dance. Seriously,
yes.
as the laws change and more research comes out, and it's interesting.
Absolutely.
Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Well, I was just going to say, I know how topicals changed my life. And so I couldn't just let that go. And so forming another company to be able to push our message forward even more just seemed like the right thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what's the best thing about being a cannabis company owner?
The best thing, I was going to say you can call in sick, but that doesn't work.
No.
The best thing is that I get to get letters from little old ladies telling me that they had so much pain that they couldn't dance in their wheelchair at the nursing home. And then they got my products, and she said, and now I can dance and hold hands again. So she got to connect with people. And so that's rewarding.
Connection.
That's
rewarding.
The best part. That is the best part, is knowing that somebody is living their best life.
Yeah, living their best life. And we both know too, as being patients at one point in time that were sick and suffering, it's very, very lonely when you're in that much pain. It's like you don't want to be around people, you withdraw, you make excuses, your mental health starts to suffer, anxiety,
Absolutely.
depression, a lot of people with those chronic myofascial pains, you not even being able to go to the mailbox. I mean, that is really, really tough. And that lack of connection becomes so lonely. And how amazing that a plant can come in and improve that quality of life so rapidly. And then, of course, we make, adjustments along the way. But really, that the reward of hearing how something that you went through, here it is your mission, your blessing was in the mess that you had to endure, right? So you came out the other side, and now, wow, look at all these lives that you're touching. I just think it's just, I love it. It's so beautiful. And with a product, and I'm going to put it right back up there again, because I think it's really important, because I think this product is really going to help decrease stigma. It's going to be a really pivotal product to help people, because it doesn't have THC in it. It's a CBD product. It's safe, a really good option, going to decrease that stigma about inhaling. It's just a different type of, I call it durable medical equipment to use.
Exactly.
And yeah.
We also are very excited and have some upcoming news to announce in the next couple of months. We are bringing along another formulation, and we're super, super excited about it. We do believe in full plant healing. CBD as an isolate just happened to have helped my nausea, and it did enough for me that I personally believe that CBD isolate needs to have a little more respect than
I totally
some people give it.
No. I respect it all. And yeah, because here's the thing. When people start to disrespect CBD isolate, this is what I have to say. What would the cannabis plant say about that?
She would not be happy. She loves everybody, and she just wants everybody to heal.
Exactly.
And if one molecule solves one problem, it belongs on the table. And one of the things that's very important is I did not want to put anything in an inhaler that I absolutely knew would not do any damage.
Right.
And so I had to go pretty slow. We respiratory therapists, the last thing I want to do is put an oil in somebody's lung.
Right.
So for me, it's about health. It's about keeping your lungs. That's what keeps you alive. Your breath is your life. Yeah. And it is important. So
your exciting news is you have a new formulation coming out.
Yes. I can't go into any details,
okay.
But I am very excited that we are moving beyond CBD isolate in a very healthy manner. And I'm comfortable with the technology and everything that's come out that we can do more in a safer manner. So I'm excited.
Excellent. So final, what is the most important thing about being in the cannabis space?
Oh, that is a no-brainer. It is making sure that your sisters that are beside you in this battle, that they are doing well. It is not about rising above. It is about being alongside. Yes. And when you see a need in somebody who's trying to teach the world about a different way to live, we need to lift those women up and make sure that their voices are heard. And that can be done in small ways, or it can be done in big ways. It can be done with support, a phone call, checking in, or just making sure that that their needs are met. So it is about taking care of the other sisters. Yes,
the other sisters, right? Because it's not only just about our health, but it's about our personal and professional lives as we start to evolve in this space, supporting one another, that unity consciousness. I always think in my mind when I'm going to make a decision, what would the cannabis plant say? What would the cannabis plant
say? I like
say?
that saying.
Right? Instead of what would Jesus say, I'm like, what would the cannabis plant say? Because
Jesus made that cannabis plant, so you're really talking to the same people.
Exactly. Spirit. I truly find that spirit works through.
And it is. I would just like to say that it is about spirituality. When you get close to the plant and you hear all the wonderful things that she wants to do in your life and give you peace and bring forth health. Yeah.
I know. It's amazing.
It's good.
It's amazing. So for the new viewers that are out there, what would you say for the new patient that came and said, oh my goodness, I am so nervous about cannabis. I am not sure. What would you say to them? The new person that's out there questioning?
Well, I would first ask them to show me the medications that they're on. And when they bring their shoebox out, I can share with them that I know an awful lot of people that are able to decrease that. And I would encourage them to read stories and videos, because it's just so evident what this plant does. We have women in our community that have autistic children that were difficult to have in the home, and cannabis has allowed them to keep their children in the home. How can this be a bad plant?
I agree. Totally agree.
It's
unites. All about education and empowerment and learning. What is it? What's important to you? How do you want to live your life? And let's take you down a path to reach those new levels of wellness. Healing isn't the absence of illness or disease, but it's doing the best you can with what you have right here, right now. So Christi, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. Chapman Health and Wellness and the Balmb, thebalmb.com.
The Balmb with a B.
It's the B. And remember, everyone, really, truly, what is it all about? It is about living your best life and helping others do the same. Here's one of my other favorite videos to end this segment, and we'll see you all tomorrow morning.
We're here to educate and empower patients to make choices that are best for them. We're also here to decrease stigma around what it means to feel good and be high. Hence the H for hope, I for inspiration, G for growth, and H for healing. The Green Nurse is a holistic cannabis nurse that teaches on the endocannabinoid system and the safe utilization of cannabis and other progressive tools to help people reach a better quality of life.
I was cannabis agnostic for many, many years. And the more research I did, the more I discovered that cannabis is this amazing medicine.
I was told that I had a 4-stage pancreatic cancer. The doctor really told me he couldn't do anything else. He gave me her name, and she called me and she came to my house. She started to give me cannabis. My oncologist was puzzled because he couldn't find the cancer anymore.
All of the learning that we get comes from the Green Nurses Group, comes from their support, comes from their guidance. I trust everything that she says.
Simply meet people where they're at. The plant doesn't, stress to grow, so we don't stress to share it. We're healing people.
Cannabis has been used as a medicine for tens upon thousands of years. Here's the big message. Cannabis needs to be federally legal. We need to have laws that are the same across all 50 states that allow access to anyone and everyone who wants to utilize this powerful medicine.